Chapter 1 Whispers of Yggdrasil. In the beginning, there was only the yawning chasm of Ginnungagap, where the seeds of the cosmos stirred in the void. From this primordial abyss, the worlds were woven, and at the heart of all creation stood Yggdrasil, the world tree, an immense ash tree whose branches stretched into the heavens and whose roots delved into the hidden realms below. Yggdrasil was not merely a tree but the very framework of existence, connecting the 9 realms in a delicate balance. Its leaves whispered the secrets of the ages, and its sap flowed like the rivers of fate. The gods, in their wisdom, knew that Yggdrasil's health was paramount to the order of all things. They tended to it with care, for they understood that the tree was both their sustenance and their shield against the chaos that ever sought to engulf the worlds. Yet, beneath the splendor of Yggdrasil, in the shadowy realm of Niflheim, a malevolent force stirred. Nidhogg, the malicious dragon, lay coiled around the tree's deepest root, gnawing tirelessly with hatred in its eyes. Its scales were as dark as the void from which the world had sprung, and its breath was a poison that withered all it touched. Nidhogg was the antithesis of creation, a symbol of the entropy that clawed at the edges of the cosmos. The dragon's relentless destruction was not born of hunger but of spite, for it envied the life that flourished above. It sought to bring ruin to Yggdrasil, to topple the realms from their lofty heights and plunge them back into the abyss. The Aesir, the gods of Asgard, spoke in hushed tones of the threat that lay beneath. They knew that Nidhogg's vendetta against Yggdrasil was more than a mere nuisance. It was a harbinger of Ragnarok, the end of days when the tree would tremble and the worlds would fall into disarray. Yet, the gods were not the only ones who whispered of the dragon's wrath. The Norns, the weavers of fate, murmured prophecies beside the well of Urd, which lay at the foot of Yggdrasil. They spoke of a time when Nidhogg would rise from the depths and the tree would groan under the weight of its own suffering. In the mortal realm of Midgard, tales of the dragon spread like wildfire. Skalds sang of the serpent that gnawed at the roots of the world, and warriors etched the image of Nidhogg into their shields, hoping to ward off the chaos it represented. But there were those who sought to understand the dragon, to comprehend the darkness that dwelled in its heart. Among them was a young Völva, a seeress with the gift of sight beyond sight. She listened to the whispers of Yggdrasil, and in her dreams she walked the shadowed paths that led to Nidhogg's lair. As the first chapter of our tale unfolds, the Völva stands at the precipice of a journey that will entwine her destiny with that of the world tree and the dragon that seeks its end. The whispers of Yggdrasil grow louder, and the saga of Nidhogg's wrath begins to unfurl, a legend that will echo through the ages as the struggle between creation and destruction wages on. Chapter 2 The Serpent's Fury. The Völva's name was Eir, and she was born of the line of seers, gifted with the sight that pierced the veils of the 9 realms. Her eyes, the color of the stormy skies, reflected a depth of knowledge that belied her youth. Eir had heard the whispers of Yggdrasil since she was a child, and she knew that her fate was bound to the great tree and the serpent that sought its undoing. In the heart of Midgard, within a grove sacred to the gods, Eir sat in silent meditation. The runes had been cast, and the omens read. The time to act was upon her. She would journey to the roots of Yggdrasil, to confront Nidhogg and seek understanding of the serpent's fury. As Eir traveled through the realms, the signs of Nidhogg's malice were ever present. The land was blighted where the dragon's venom had seeped through the soil, and the air was heavy with despair. The creatures of the forest spoke of a darkness that crept through the roots, a whisper of the end times that left even the bravest hearts filled with dread. Eir's path was fraught with peril, for the way to Niflheim was guarded by creatures both fearsome and cunning. She encountered the great wolf Fenrir, whose chains rattled with the promise of future freedom and the coming of Ragnarok. She met the giantess Hel, ruler of the realm of the dead, whose chilling gaze could still the heart of the most valiant warrior. Yet, Eir pressed on, her resolve as steadfast as the mountains that pierced the skies. Finally, Eir reached the deepest root of Yggdrasil, where the air was thick with the stench of decay. There, coiled in the darkness, lay Nidhogg, the scales of its body glistening with a sinister light. The dragon's eyes, like burning coals, fixed upon air, and the ground trembled with its rage. "Why do you come, child of Midgard?" Nidhogg's voice was a cacophony of whispers, each syllable dripping with malice. "Do you seek to plead for the life of this dying tree, or have you come to witness the futility of your world's existence?" Air stood her ground, her voice clear and unwavering. "I come to understand the source of your fury, Nidhogg. Why do you gnaw at the roots of Yggdrasil? Why do you seek to bring about Ragnarok?" The dragon laughed, a sound that echoed through the cavernous depths. "Foolish seeress, you cannot comprehend the depths of my hatred. I was born of the void, a remnant of the chaos that once reigned. Yggdrasil represents the order that stifles the true nature of existence. I am the harbinger of the return to the primordial state, where no law, no structure, no life dares to confine the infinite potential of the abyss." Air listened, her heart heavy with the weight of Nidhogg's words. She knew that the dragon's vision was a twisted mirror of the truth, yet there was a sliver of understanding that dawned within her. Nidhogg was not merely a destroyer but a force of nature, a necessary counterbalance to the order that Yggdrasil imposed. "Your fury may be boundless, Nidhogg, but so is the will of those who cherish life," Air replied. "As long as Yggdrasil stands, there will be those who fight to preserve the balance. I will carry your message to the realms, and we shall prepare for the twilight of the gods. But know this, Serpent, the cycle of creation and destruction is eternal, and from the ashes of the old, a new world will always rise." With those words, Air turned and began her journey back to the world of mortals. She carried with her the knowledge of Nidhogg's wrath, and the understanding that the struggle between the serpent and the tree was but one chapter in the endless saga of the cosmos. The legend of Nidhogg's fury would be told throughout the ages, a reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the roots of existence, ever threatening to consume the light. But as long as there were those like Air, who sought to understand and confront the darkness, there would be hope for the worlds entwined within the branches of Yggdrasil. In the twilight of the gods, when the skies roared with the cries of battle and the earth trembled beneath the weight of destiny, there stood the guardians of the cosmos, steadfast and resolute. These were the beings of light and shadow, of fire and ice, of life and death, each bound to the fate of Yggdrasil, the world tree that cradled the 9 realms in its mighty boughs. Among them, the Völva Eir, her spirit as indomitable as the winds that swept across Midgard, her wisdom as deep as the well of Ord from which the Norns drew the waters of time. She had faced Nidhogg, the great dragon, and had seen into the heart of the abyss from whence it came. She knew that the serpent's wrath was but a reflection of the chaos that had birthed the cosmos, a necessary darkness that gave meaning to the light. As the final battle raged, the gods and their allies clashed with the forces of destruction, the very air crackling with the power of their wills. The roots of Yggdrasil shuddered, the dragon's fury unleashed in full, its venom seeping into the soil of existence, threatening to unravel the tapestry of life. But Air, with the clarity of her vision, united the guardians. They channeled their essence into the world tree, their collective strength reinforcing the bonds that held the realms together. Their sacrifice was a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the cosmic order. And when the dust settled, when the echoes of the final clash faded into the annals of legend, Yggdrasil stood tall, its roots healed by the valor of the guardians. Nidhogg, its fury spent, lay dormant once more, a reminder of the balance that must be kept. The guardians of the cosmos had prevailed, their legacy etched into the very fibers of Yggdrasil, a promise that as long as there were those who stood in defense of the tree, the light would never succumb to the shadows. And so, the cycle continued, the eternal dance of creation and destruction, with the world tree at its center, ever enduring, ever whispering the secrets of the ages to those who would listen.